Netrix. I've been working in IT for about 18 years, working primarily around endpoint computing, everything from OS deployment to app packaging, all the way up through mobile device management.
So the focus of today's webinar is to kind of give you some education around Microsoft's Upgrade Analytics. Upgrades Analytics, which has now been rebranded Upgrade Readiness, is a free service from Microsoft to allow you to do application rationalization, application compatibility as you migrate your computers from Windows 7, 8 to Windows 10. It just gives you insights over your environment and what applications are installed, what Microsoft knows about what works, what doesn't work. Our practice group that Phil and I are part of at Netrix is the Enterprise Computing and Mobility Practice. So we're focused on helping you and our customers make sure they have an optimized process to get to Windows 10, which includes the actual helping with the migration, creating the images, upgrading, SDCM, MDT, and so forth. And then also once you get that, what is the optimization process, making sure there's fast logons, users logging on in the past and getting a cup of coffee before they get their desktop. We have solutions and best practices on all of that, including encryption with BitLocker and so forth. So if there's any other questions around some of the assistance after this call, feel free to reach out to us for additional questions, or if you need assistance, we could definitely get on a call with you and help you further.
All right, so as we start to take a look at the upgrade readiness or upgrade analytics process, one of the things that sort of drove the need for this was the overall traditional OS deployment process. So there was a great deal of lag going from the time that Windows XP was released until the time that Windows 7 adoption really became mainstream across organizations. It was several years, in fact, including skipping an interim release of the operating system in between those two. And as we look at the major reasons around why that was the case, a lot of it initially had to do with uncertainty around compatibility. So obviously applications are central to what end users do on their systems, and the need to ensure that the applications were going to be compatible was a major problem. So a lot of organizations spent countless hours and resources going through to ensure that not only their applications would still run on the new platform, but also that their devices and their device driver support was there as well. On top of that, there was sort of a limited amount of information that was available to help alleviate those issues. So a lot of the times there was no central mechanism for tracking down those known issues. You simply had to be able to peruse the right websites or the right forums and find that information. And again, it took a lot of time and resources. On top of that, because you were so reliant on the device manufacturers or the application vendors, you really had to wait for support statements from them to indicate that sort of support and compatibility. A lot of organizations were not willing to take that leap until at least their Tier 1 applications and their mainstream devices were explicitly supported by those vendors. And then, of course, as things increasingly have moved towards browser-based technologies, the need to ensure that Internet Explorer compatibility was there stopped a lot of deployments in their tracks as they had to go through and mitigate issues around web compatibility. And then, of course, the one biggest one is the traditional wipe and load paradigm around imaging. So having to take your users' data and applications, pull that personality data off a machine, lay down a fresh operating system, and then pull everything back down and cross your fingers and hope that the user experience was acceptable and that they didn't lose any data when they got to that point.
Yes, and and from XP to Windows 7, the InPlace Upgrade option was almost impossible. Even though customers did it, there's few people that out there was successfully, but you had to reinstall applications, you have to upgrade applications. And on the web compatibility from Internet Explorer 7, 8, 9, 10, and now 11, customers are now treating a website as an application. In the past, it was just a website. It didn't need to be tested during an operating system migration. Now, a website is so critical, especially with all the SaaS providers out there, to ensure that a website works. ADP.com, if that doesn't work, nobody's getting paid. So now that's treated like an application and go through all user acceptance testing like anything else.
So when we look at the Windows 10 paradigm, it represented a pretty seismic shift. When it comes to the consumer space for Windows operating systems, Microsoft effectively acts as the IT admin in that space. They're sort of responsible for ensuring that there's going to be that compatibility, because most consumers are not able or willing to go out on their own and check with all the applications that they run, check with all the device drivers that they have, and ensure that, when they get ready to do that upgrade to a new operating system, that there's going to be, that compatibility is going to be there. People simply don't think in those terms. So it was incumbent upon Microsoft to ensure that they had good momentum when they started to roll out Windows 10, and that's part of why they made it a free operating system upgrade for so many consumers, is they wanted to ensure that they could get that operating system out in the environment as quickly as possible in a supported way, and then begin to receive data back, telemetry data back, to find out what the issues were and what the roadblocks were to that adoption in the consumer space. And because the Inplace Upgrade process was so resilient, they were able to do so with relatively little risk to the end users. So if in the event of a faulty or an interrupted upgrade process, it could simply be rolled back and all the users' data and applications would still be there. And so it represented, again, a very low risk proposition for getting it out there. And ultimately what they were doing was sort of recreating many of the same challenges that IT departments at the enterprise level are going to face in terms of ensuring that the customer's data and applications are still functioning, and that the user experience is still resilient. So to take a look at how Microsoft actually accomplished this, going back all the way to the Windows 7 release, there was a major focus around keeping backwards compatibility for the OS itself, as well as much as possible applications. Basically, if that compatibility is not there, then people aren't going to adopt the OS. So they have to ensure as much as possible that there's going to be a seamless transition between the operating systems. They also have to make sure that they kept internally very close engagement between their teams to ensure that any code changes or design changes were going to be non-disruptive as much as possible. And then, as we said, with the Inplace Upgrade process, it had to be something that was not only smooth, but was adept enough to be able to handle any potential issues that came up during that process. And so to facilitate that, they knew that they had to capture a lot of data to be able to support this. So they began developing new technologies that were going to pull that data in and be able to let them know what they needed to target and what major concerns they needed to address during that process. It also allowed them to prioritize their testing and their mitigation strategies, so that they could ensure that they were getting the most bang for their buck in their development cycle, going through that testing process.
So one thing that Microsoft has built into Windows 10 that they never had in the past with Windows XP 7, 8, 8.1 is telemetry. Telemetry is built into Windows 10, all the versions, Home, Pro, Enterprise, Education, and that allows Microsoft to get insights on what's happening in the operating system. So through the hundreds of millions of Windows 10 in-place upgrades, they got a lot of insight and a lot of data. And then they took that data not only just to make Windows 10 much better as future versions of Windows 10 is released, but they were able to share that data with their ISV partners, their independent software vendors. That's a Citrix, Adobe, 1E, and of the world's Oracle and so forth. And then their IHVs, which is their hardware vendors, whether that's Dell, Lenovo, HP, all the big hardware players, and they're able to share that insight data from actual machines around the world and say, here's what's causing the crash, here's the problem, and based on that, they're able to work throughout with those vendors to make that product much more stable, and also that data is also available now to the end users, which we'll show you a little bit later on as well.
Yeah, and the result of being able to collect that data was not only it gave them the opportunity to prioritize what they were doing internally and to prioritize that vendor relationship to ensure that those potential issues were addressed, but it also gave a direct mechanism for being able to know whether or not, being able to know ahead of time whether or not an upgrade could potentially be a bad experience for the user. And so they were able to actually build into the process the ability to check ahead of time and see if there are known compatibility issues before the upgrade process gets fully engaged. So to that point, as you can see here, Windows 10 and Windows really as a service is designed now to be supremely compatible going forward. So they're continuing to test applications and devices against that process on an ongoing basis as they continue to collect that data, and they're continuing to also get feedback from the end users. Both through, or primarily through the Windows Insiders program. So they essentially have millions of opt-in testers out there through the Windows Insider builds that give that real-time feedback directly to them and allow another channel of feedback for that experience. So that data is all feeding back into Microsoft to provide them that much more from a development standpoint to ensure that's smooth.
Yep, and that feedback from the Insiders program. So if you were on our webinar yesterday around Windows as a Service, the preview builds are the first step before it goes to general availability in the new branching model that Microsoft has, or the servicing model. So Microsoft will update and push out fixes once or twice a year. That also adds features and functionality. It's in what's called the current branch and the current branch for business. But also on a monthly basis, along with the critical and security fixes, there might be some pushes out there that allows performance and reliability patches as well that kind of fixes issues, knowing if it's driver based, if it's operating system based. So on a monthly basis, you'll see Microsoft pushing out quality updates just to stabilize the operating system, and that's all based on feedback that comes from insiders as well as current branch computers that are deployed with Windows 10.
Right, and what this really gives them is that ability for every preview build that they put out. They have a standard set now that continues to change as time goes on, but they have a standard set of top application categories that get tested every time a Windows Insider build goes out. So the assurance is that if an Insider build comes out, it's already been tested against what's known to be their top apps and devices out in the real world. So in the case specifically of Upgrade Analytics, the core idea here is to give IT professionals the technologies that Microsoft is already using on the back end to be able to upgrade Windows 10 in their environment, whether it be from Inplace upgrades from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, or the ongoing Windows 10 branch builds, which are Inplace upgrades every time a new branch build comes out. So IT professionals now have the same tools at their disposal for evaluation that Microsoft is already using at the consumer level to send these new builds out on a regular basis.
So that's where we have Upgrades Analytics service from Microsoft. It's a free online service from Microsoft that allows you to capitalize on all that data Microsoft has collected throughout the last 2 years from all the different hundreds of millions of PCs that's out there. It allows the enterprise IT to quickly identify and focus on the critical issues impending upgrades, providing data-driven insights to plan and manage the upgrade process end to end. So what that means is that all the data that Microsoft has now, it's available in the Microsoft Upgrades Analytic Portal, and we'll walk you through what that portal looks like and how your data is shared in that portal. So there is an entire process for you to push out information from your computers in the enterprise to the Microsoft Upgrades Analytics service. It's all secure. It's all data only used about your environment. And within 48 hours, Microsoft analyzes that data and says, here's what we know about the application. We know it works. We know it doesn't work. Oh, by the way, this application, yeah, it's on millions of computers out there. Or if it doesn't work, it's going to tell you maybe that it's, we know it doesn't work, and here's the next steps you need to take. So that data is now available, and that's not just applications, but it's also drivers as well.
Right, and it's important to note too that so the telemetry data is enabled in Windows 10 by default. That data is all anonymous. There's no identifying information in there, and you do have the ability through group policy and other means to pare down or even completely shut off that telemetry data. But obviously, Microsoft is relying on this telemetry data to come back in because that's the data that they turn around and they're able to provide and they're able to give direct access and guidance to IT professionals to be able to use this, going forward. So, it's safe data, it's anonymous data, but it's very critical data to facilitate this process. So, from a prerequisite standpoint, to get upgrade analytics or update readiness set up, the first key piece is the need to sign up for a Microsoft Operations Management Suite or OMS subscription. It's a free subscription that you simply tie into an Azure Active Directory account. That Azure AD account can be from a free, also from a free subscription that's created. But because this is a cloud-driven and cloud-based service, you do need to have that cloud subscription set up. And once that's done, once that OMS subscription is created, you can then add the Upgrade Analytics solution to that workspace in OMS. On the client side, then you simply just need to complete some client configuration to configure the clients to send that telemetry data up and then make it available in Upgrade Analytics for you. Microsoft does provide some scripts that are available to deploy in your environment. So especially if you're using something like SCCM to manage your environment, it's easy to deploy these scripts, or you can deploy them via group policy and simply turn on the options for those clients to report up. It's important to note that there's no additional agent involved in this, so you don't have to do any agent installation on the workstations. It's simply configuration of the existing operating system and the items that are already built in. And then you have to make sure as well that there are certain websites or endpoints that are open for traffic. So if you have any content filtering or traffic filtering in your environment, you simply need to make sure that those endpoints are open for that data to be sent up.
So some of the customers, early on, Upgrades Analytics was in preview over the last few months. It's going out of preview, I believe, in the next couple of weeks, but it's still available. Even in preview mode, you can start utilizing it today. So some customers like Ryder and the Miller already started the process, and it allows them to get the insight of their environment for the Windows 10 migration. And then once you're already on Windows 10, you can still start using this data to keep current with Windows 10. So with 15.11, 16.07, 17.03, you can monitor where you are in the application set if there's any compatibility issues. Because once in a while, an application may not work at a certain branch of Windows 10, even though you're on Windows 10 previous. So for example, Symantec Antivirus, for some of our customers, when they went from 15.11 to 16.07, Symantec Antivirus didn't work. If they had insights to Upgrades Analytics, they might have seen that oh, by the way, this doesn't work. Let's prepare. We don't have to even bother testing because we already have data that shows it didn't work. So what are the deployment steps? The deployment step is first, if you have a security or compliance team in your company, you want to make sure that you get their buy-in to make sure that you're allowed to send information to Microsoft Cloud. Again, as Phil said, it's not very high level, it's not confidential information, it's not documents, any legal information, your emails, anything like that that's going up there. This is a lot of it just your inventory information, what application are installed, what type of computer, what's the configuration of the computer for memory and all that. So it's not very confidential information unless there's some requirements from your organization that they need to see a list of items that are populated into the Microsoft Upgrades Analytics database. Then Microsoft has a document out there which we could share with you that says here's everything that gets sent up, and then once your compliance officer, your CISO says, yeah, we're fine. There's nothing here confidential. There's no public IP addresses or names and passwords. Then go ahead and do it. Then you set up the OMS workspace, and that's basically going to mms.microsoft.com. And you can link it to your Azure subscription, or you can log in with your company's identity if you're already a Office 365, Azure, or Enterprise Mobility customer, and you have your identity synchronized to Microsoft. If you don't, then you could actually create a on Microsoft.com account just to set up the trial of Operation Management Suite. And then once you enable the Upgrades Analytic piece, you'll have what's called a commercial ID, and the commercial ID is what links your computers to that Microsoft Cloud tenant that you own and you manage. This way, when the data is sent from your endpoints to Microsoft, it's got your commercial ID embedded into the scripts, so it knows exactly where to put that data. So when you log into Upgrades Analytics, or in this case, Operation Management Suite, you only see your data and nobody else sees your data because that commercial ID is very unique to you. So that data is very secure. It's only in your workspace. It's not going to go to other people's workspace, and there's that commercial ID that kind of distinguishes between you and everybody else. And then from that point on, once you get your commercial ID, Microsoft supplies you with deployment scripts. It's all online. It's all part of the setup. And you plug in that commercial ID into deployment scripts, and then use Configuration Manager, SCCM, Alteryx, group policies, login scripts, however you want to do it, and deploy that script to all your endpoints. The first step is you want to make sure it's working. You don't have anything that's wrong in the script or wrong commercial ID or something like that. So you might want to test on some test computers, 5, 15 computers, maybe a manual test. And then within 48 hours after you do that, you'll see that data in the Microsoft Operation Management Suite under Upgrades Analytics. It takes about 48 hours for it to compile and rationalize that information. And then once you see that, then you start evaluating your solution, right? It works, here's the data I see, I don't have any issues, and then you plan for a wider deployment of that script.
So just to kind of reiterate some of the topics that we've already touched on at this point, from a cost standpoint, it's completely free. The OMS subscription is free. The Azure subscription is free, unless you already have one that you paid for other purposes. There's no agent on the machine. Everything that's collected is based on OS component. And the actual amount of data that the client sends is less than 2 meg per full scan. So even during the initial setup, even if you were to blow it out to a wide audience, you're only looking at a minimal amount of data that's sent by any of the clients. And then from that point on, it's only delta scans that the agent actually performs. So sorry, not the agent, but the service actually performs. In addition to moving from Windows 7 to Windows 8 to Windows 10, this is also useful for Windows 10 to Windows 10 as the branch builds roll out for the Windows as a service. So you will require a basic level of telemetry to be enabled from the Windows 10 telemetry options, but it's definitely useful, as Jay said, for identifying potential issues as you move from one branch build to another. In terms of the data that's collected, again, we can provide the information that Microsoft does as far as specifically what information is gathered from the machines. And I believe the patch has already shipped for the collection device names, but so I don't think that's a required piece of that anymore as well. And then again, part of the intent here is to know what's generally in your environment now for Windows 7 or Windows 8, primarily in preparation for a move to Windows 10. But strictly speaking, that information can be valuable whether your Windows 10 migration is imminent or not. It's the information is going to be there. Just know that the amount of data that you're uploading to the service, depending on how many systems you have that you're targeting, it could take a while for that data to be analyzed and rationalized and then displayed in the service. So kind of just to that point, if you're not planning on doing an in-place upgrade, so say that you're going to take the traditional wipe and load approach, moving from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, this information can still help you because whether you're going through the in-place upgrade process or not, the data around applications and drivers is still going to be relevant to that eventual move to Windows 10. So whether you're doing an in-place upgrade or you're trying to put that information or those applications down after the fact, you're still going to benefit from that information and from the workflow that the product provides.
And if you're using third-party solutions for your application compatibility today, such as Flexera's Admin Studio or AppDNA or some of the other ones that may be out there, Microsoft is working on a integration opportunity to put UA upgrade analytics into those third-party tools as well, that provides you that same data that Microsoft has into those third-party tools.
And then, of course, some organizations have app proxies in place for information that goes out. So the question of whether or not user-based or user-authenticated proxies are supported, they are supported. They have a patch out that allows, as it says here, that allows that telemetry component data to be transmitted under user-based credentials, so that it will be able to be uploaded to the service even with a user-based proxy. So kind of looking forward, this is much as with everything else that's within this newer paradigm. Everything is under continual development improvement. So there are always going to be new features and new components that were released, and this kind of touches on some of these future scenarios. So one of the principal ones again is around applications. So applications were such a big part of the or such a big pain point with the upgrade process. So Microsoft is providing additional functionality around identifying dependencies for applications and analysis specifically to support line of business apps that are in the current environment. In addition, they're looking to provide the ability to evaluate application compatibility for repackaged apps. So if you have an internal packaging team that is repackaging applications as MSIs or technologies like that, and you're deploying those rather than just deploying them, bare bones from the way they came from the application vendor. They're providing additional functionality around determining application compatibility for this repackaged apps as well. Just a few other options there. Looking at the health post upgrade, validating that there's compatibility after the upgrade process. Looking at some third-party solution providers with applications to ensure that compatibility, and then pulling in data for other data sources such as Config Manager, custom databases, and so forth.
So, what's the value of Windows Analytics or Upgrades Analytics, right? It's all data-driven insights, right? So it helps you reduce the cost of deploying and servicing and supporting Windows. In the past, it's a manual process, and not to paint a bright picture that everything's going to be unicorns and rainbows. There's going to be some manual process because not all data is in here, but this is a step to get you into the right direction, where you actually have a lot more data than you could gather manually. So taking Microsoft's data that it got from hundreds of millions of computers to start analyzing some of the data of very well-known products and hardware that's out there, from a driver standpoint for hardware, is now you could take that information and do something with it, and without calling the vendor, going through the website and saying, does this work, does this doesn't work, and going through your testing process. So it's all data driven. So you have different steps of during the Upgrades Analytics portal, which we'll show you in a little bit, is to kind of give you a insight of all the computers that are out there. So in this little diagram, screenshots we have, they have 14,000 computers. They have one computer that's been upgraded, and all the way to the right you see what's updated, what's compliant, and then you actually see some health of computers once they got Windows deployment. Is information protection health, it's OS health. So Upgrades Analytics and Windows Analytics and Operation Management Suite overall, it's all data driven and gives you a lot more information from where you are today. And once you get there, keep that up and running and ensure the health of your environment.
Yeah, obviously the expansion of these services is going to continue and be ongoing. Again, as they move more and more towards cloud-centric and cloud-based solutions, and having that telemetry data, they can turn around and expose it. The same data that they've been using for quite a while on the back end, they're now able to provide it, curated for your organization, so that whereas today we're looking at upgrades for Windows, pretty soon you'll be able to look at the same type of data around Windows updates. So as Microsoft releases security updates, you're able to see potential compatibility issues. You're able to get snapshots of what your current update status is, and then furthermore looking at health analytics. So being able to check the health of the OS itself, the application, if you have Windows information protection in place, basically all aspects of the operating system, being able to see what the level of health is, and not just the level of compliance. And what that can do then obviously is in turn help you to not only recognize potential issues, but to proactively work to address those before they impact your end users.
So one of the next steps for before we get into it, Microsoft has the Windows 10 Enterprise Compatibility Briefing that's available. So we could send you information about this, or contact your local Microsoft representative. There is a one-to-one briefing that's for your environment that could be enabled through a partner like us at Netrix. So if you have a Microsoft account exec or a technical account manager that's helping you and you're working with, please let them know that you're interested in the Windows 10 Enterprise Compatibility Briefing. They'll get a partner engaged. Or if you're interested in having someone like us, you contact me or Phil directly, and we could find out who your local representative is and get that engaged. It's a Microsoft-funded engagement, but there are some requirements, and we could walk through that once you contact us.
And there's just some brief information, and all this information is contained in the slide deck, and I believe Jay will be sending out this information after the fact as a follow-up. But just some information here generally, some links back to Microsoft information specifically about how you sign up for the service, general TechNet documentation around it. The Upgrade Analytics blog is great for new announcements. So some of the features that we mentioned through here are coming attractions, if you will, for the product. And as those features and that new functionality gets released, that Upgrade Analytics blog will actually publish that information and make you aware of it. So just some links, generally speaking, to help around information for the service. And then one quick word about what they call ISV app readiness. Microsoft specifically has a website that they use to track application compatibility and application readiness specifically for Windows 10. So what it's designed to do is to give you that stamp of approval that something is ready for Windows. It allows ISVs to essentially publish their own software solution to this website, indicating that it supports Windows 10, and then that in turn makes it visible from a market standpoint. So as you go through that process of evaluating and getting ready for a Windows 10 upgrade, you can look at this website and as you possibly as you're going through an application rationalization process, and you have, a number of applications that are providing the same functionality, you can look to see, which applications are already listed as ready for Windows, and that can help narrow down your and help make your decision around those applications.
Yeah, and we'll send a link with that website in the follow-up email as well.
Yeah, and there's like I said, there's an actual website around it, an actual Ready for Windows portal that they provide, and so you can go right in and you can do a real quick search for applications, or you can see the list of the latest applications that have come up that are listed as being supported for Windows 10. So as Jay said, we'll send out the link for that information.
And the portal, it's nice as a first step. We have Upgrades Analytics, obviously, as something that you could go ahead and use that a little bit more around your environment. But the portal, the Ready for Windows portal, is also available for you, where you could type in the application name, the vendor name, Citrix XenApp, 5.6, and then it'll let you know if Citrix put a support statement out there or not, without you calling Citrix or 200 different companies. So the Upgrades Analytics Service dashboard, you log on to the Operation Management Suite, and one of the first things you see once you enable it, on the right, you see the little dashboard around the Upgrades Analytics and what data is there. So in this example, we have 3.7 thousand computers with data that's uploaded to Microsoft Operations Management for this tenant. There are 257 that are eligible, and for Windows upgrade, and 115 they have not started the analysis. So this is still going through an analysis piece of it, and then it gives you all the steps from step 1, step 2, step 3. So, step 1 is prioritizing your applications. You might have thousands of applications that shows up in the portal, but doesn't mean thousands of applications that need to be in Windows 10. Just because you had it in Windows 7 or Windows 8 doesn't mean it needs to get in Windows 10. So you need to kind of figure out which applications are priority, and mainly tier 1 applications, which are your line of business applications that are important to every single user. And then you break it down into your department and different categories. These are HR applications and financial applications and so forth. So then you can start putting importance around that. This is business critical, this is important, not critical, and so forth. And step 2 is going through the applications and finding out what applications have known issues. Here's my applications that Microsoft knows about and the data that's been collected, and there's a known issue. Now, what do I do with that? And I as an IT person, make a decision. Do I follow the Microsoft recommendation? And that could be you need to put a patch on it. You need to upgrade to a next build per the ISV recommendation. So if you're on Citrix Receiver 6.0 and it says no, you need to go to 7.0, then that's what you need to do to get fully supported. And you might have applications that says there's no known issues for it. And it actually will tell you that there's this application, Adobe Acrobat DC, it's on over 100 million computers. It'll actually tell you that on a Windows 10 platform. And so that's that self-assurance that says, oh, all right, that's, it's a Microsoft telemetry told them that it's on over 100 million computers, must be working, it's good to go. Or it'll tell you that, no, it's not working, you need to do something about it. And also drivers. So outside of applications, drivers are always a big concern. Will my drivers migrate, especially when you're doing an in-place upgrade? Is there any issues with that? And they'll give you that information as well. And then step 3 is deploy the eligible computers. Which computers are ready to go, ready to migrate, based on my prioritization of my applications, knowing what works, what doesn't work. So these are applications with no known issues, no known driver issues. I should be able to migrate them and push the applications either in place or post. If I'm doing a clean build, then I could use SDCM or some other method to push that application. But those are computers eligible. And computers not eligible, then you go through the remediation process.
Yeah, so it's important to note that Microsoft is very deliberate in building in standard best practice processes into these tools. So technology is a great thing, but one of the things I've always said is you never want to use technology as a substitute for a good process. And so all of these tools are designed, and we discussed this yesterday with Windows as a Service. All the tools and the technologies are designed to facilitate a good process, and this workflow is one particular piece that helps drive a solid process as you go through very deliberately through those steps to ensure the most success in deploying ultimately in deploying Windows.
So just like for the first, you see which eligible computers are ready, right? So there's about 13, in this example, 13,000 computers that's in review in progress, and based on our feedback and based on Microsoft and how you tag these computers, there are about 264 that's ready to upgrade. There's about 25 you just can't upgrade because of certain application that's you just don't have a fix for, or you're still waiting for the developer or the manufacturer of the application to give you some patch or an upgraded version. But here it says this is where you track your progress. So if you're a large environment with thousands of computers, this is one dashboard you could use to start evaluating your upgrade and your migration path.
And then from an application standpoint, we start to pull in application inventory into the suite as well, and so we're able to see information about what the applications are that exist in the environment, which helps not only with identifying compatibility issues, but also with the rationalization process. So identifying if there are multiple applications performing the same thing that we can rationalize down and be able to sort of streamline our application profile as we go through this process. And then in addition to that, we can also get usage information and install numbers. So we get not only just a bare list of the applications, but how many total installs there actually are in the environment, and how many computers are actively using those applications during a particular time frame.
And then issues known to Microsoft. Review, there's applications that Microsoft knows about it, so the applications with known issues. So in this case, 631, and then I could go dig into those applications, what's available, what needs to be fixed, and Microsoft actually tell you, the assessment process will actually tell you that there's a fix available. So in this example, we have 27 applications that there's a fix available, and then there's the upgrade decision matrix that you have as well, that you could tag. You could tag an application that it's ready to upgrade, a computer that's ready to upgrade, not upgrade, applications reviewed, and so forth. And then you go into the drivers, their driver known issues. And then you could track your own progress. So this is not a static website where you just see information. You actually could mark and use this for application rationalization for yourselves and for your company. So you could actually tag a application and highlight it and just say this is business critical, it's ready to upgrade. And then you could report on it. So as you're testing and going through this process, you mark the applications you've been testing and validating, and also put some importance around it. This is business critical, it's important, it's not critical. And then once you go through your testing, you can mark it ready to upgrade. And then when management says, tell me all the applications are ready for Windows 10, you can run a report, export it as an Excel spreadsheet, and give it to them.
Yeah, so it's important to note again that you sort of have the best of both worlds here, because the service itself is curated and only shows the information that you're uploading from your organization specifically, and then it's capturing the data that you're putting in and the labels that you're putting in terms of your own workflow. But on the flip side, you're also leveraging all of the immense amount of data that Microsoft is parsing through and is identifying based on the feedback not only from you as a customer, but from customers across the world, and identifying those compatibility issues. So they're able to provide the information to mark those as known issues, while you're only seeing your applications and not having to weed through information from all those millions of customers. It's just your information, yet you're getting the insight from Microsoft, from their own experience and their own data at a global level. And then in turn, you're able to actually drill down to the device level for the devices within your organization. So again, there is a patch available if you don't want to be able to collect device names and things like that, you can actually shut that off. But generally speaking, you have the ability to drill down to a device level and be able to get information specifically on those devices. So you can tie back, if you have certain devices that within a particular group that you want to highlight and check the validity of, you can go ahead and drill down specifically to those devices and see the applications, see the device details and everything for those devices.
And if you have questions while we're going through this, go ahead and just put them in the IM window. Within the last 5-6 minutes, we'll go ahead and open up for questions.
So as I said, going back to the integration with Microsoft services, so we have tie-in now directly for the Windows Ready for Windows service, or the website. So that same portal that you go in and do an individual search on ahead of time for a particular application and version, there's actually a direct tie-in with that software within the service. So you can look at a particular piece of software on a particular machine and see whether or not it's already targeted or tagged as ready for Windows, and what the adoption rate is for that particular application across the entirety of the Windows platform. So again, very, very useful information that Microsoft is providing you based on the telemetry data and the other information that they're already gathering themselves. They're actually, tying that into the specific data that you've collected for your organization.
Then, so just like applications, you could also enable the website site discovery. So just like I said earlier, a website that's critical to you, critical to your organization, should be treated like an application. If the website doesn't work when you went to IE 11, especially if you're on Windows 7, IE 9, 10 today, if you go to IE 11, if a website doesn't work, then that's an issue, and then your users will not be able to do what they need to do if it's ADP for payroll or if it's other SaaS providers. So what Microsoft also allows you to do is site discovery insights for websites. So you could actually enable the websites as the user is using them up to the upgrades analytics, and based on the website, it'll let you know that if there's known issues from other telemetry it's been getting. And then it might say, this website, if you just put in IE9 document mode, then it's going to work just fine. And then you use enterprise mode, which is part of Internet Explorer 11.0, basically a group policy. And you can say anytime a user goes to www.amazon.com, switch to IE9 document mode.
And then sort of a companion to that is, again, looking at Office add-ins as though they're applications. So a lot of organizations leverage particular add-ins for Microsoft Office that are critical to their business functionality. So that data is also captured and is presented so that you can see the number of installs for particular Office add-ins and how many of them that you need to test for as you look to migrate through that process.
Which is key, especially if you're going to go to a new version of Windows, in this case Windows 10, there's a high chance that you might go to Office 2016 or Office 365 Pro Plus. So verifying those add-ons still work and understanding what those add-ons are is key to your migration process as well.
All right. So ultimately, what you end up with this data is the ability to optimize the order in which you're going to test applications and devices or device drivers. So you can prioritize based on the number of installs or whatever data points you want to sort it based on. But you end up with that data that you can then prioritize, which ones you need to tackle first and possibly mitigate before you go through that upgrade or migration process. So again, it's all your data with Microsoft's insights tied to it that allows you to then work through the upgrade process, and prioritize things specifically for your organization, and not just generally based on what else somebody else might have been doing.
And then if you have third-party tools or Microsoft first-party tools like SCCM Configuration Manager, you could actually connect SCCM into Upgrades Analytics. So the new version of Configuration Manager, which is current branch, currently at 1610 branch, there is an option to connect Upgrades Analytics into Configuration Manager, so you could analyze all that information within a Config Manager console without going through another website and going through another different process.
Right. So at the end of the day, not only do you have all this data available to you from the service, you can actually take that data out and bring it into other services as needed to be able to further analyze that data or tie it in.
Okay.
So just as sort of a final step here, again, we have some additional information. The section at the bottom is what I displayed previously, and then there's some additional information around some YouTube videos and some other information that will help you see some of the available options, help you get started with configuration, walk you through everything that's needed to do to get this up and running for your organization and evaluate it, and ultimately to have a successful migration process. So again, we'll send this information out, make it available to everybody, so that you can go through this information and see what works best for you.
So we're about 5 minutes up to the hour. We're going to open up for questions. We're going to unmute the microphones. If you want to just IM the question, feel free to do so as well. And our contact information is right there, and we'll send that within the next few days, hopefully by end of today, the deck and other information we talked about. So if you have questions, go ahead. The microphone has been unmuted, and you should be able to unmute yourself and ask a question or put it in the IM window. Thank you. And I think the important part here is just to kind of go back to the first couple of slides. This is a free service from Microsoft. So Operation Management Suite itself, it's a paid-for service with the other analytics, the other dashboards, but the upgrade analytics piece of it within Operation Management, it's free. All right. So if there are any questions, I don't see anybody typing. I will go ahead and end this webinar. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We are netrixllc.com if you want more information about our site, about our company. We are global. As you can see, some of the offices we have across the country and worldwide. Reach out to us, follow us on Twitter, and happy to engage with you in the future for future webinars. Thank you so much for attending today. Thank you.
Yep. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.